What's up, everybody? Isn't it amazing that your greatest strength in the wrong place is a phenomenal weakness? You know, right now, we are currently without a home. I've detailed a few times about what's happened, how quick and how abruptly it happened, and how it took us by pretty much surprise. It's been one of the most challenging periods of our life. The struggle is unreal, but God is doing some phenomenal things. The transformational things that's happening that God is doing it's amazing. You know, it's unreal how when you see scripture sometimes that you know it, you remember it, but the way it takes shape when things begin to happen in your life and the way God uses trouble and trains you by it. You know, trouble will train you if you allow it. You know, pain, we want to take painkillers, ibuprofen and Tylenol, and most of the reason why we do drugs is you kill and suppress the pain. You know, pain is a signal. Pain is telling you that there's something wrong with that part of your body. Pain is telling you that there's something that needs to be addressed. And pain will process things for you. It'll grow you into things, and trouble will transform you. And God will use all that and put you in the most phenomenal of places. And we need to be more worried about the spiritual condition of our state than the physical portion of what we're trying to accomplish. And although it is a hassle, it's a strain, and it just downright sucks not having a house. You know, we're really trying hard for that, and we've been reaching out for help in a few different areas, and for all of you guys, and thank you for those who have, but that's not the topic I want to talk to you about here. You know, God gifts us with these amazing, just phenomenal talents and abilities and skill sets, and all these things that make us who we are, and you get to use them however you want. That's the majesty of God. It's amazing how he does that and lets you do with it however you would like. I'm not saying that's right by no means, but you do have that ability. You have that option. And so look at individuals like Peter. You know, Peter, when he was picked, had this phenomenal leadership ability given to him. And so he put his foot in his mouth a bunch of times. But when they get to the garden and Jesus gets arrested, he pulls the sword out, cuts Malchus' ear off. Jesus fixes the ear and says, Peter, put that thing away, man. You're not doing this right. I like your zeal, I like where you're at, but that's not right. Put that thing away. Those who live by it, die by it. And then, you know, Jesus gets crucified and buried, and as that had all took place, it all hit Peter hard, I think, and Peter's like, wow, this all just ended, it's done. You know, everything we thought we were going to do, it's over. And, you know, he didn't know what to do, and he struggled with the moment, and he didn't know which way to turn. So what he did do is what a lot of us do, is he said, you know what, I'm going fishing. He told everyone, I'm going fishing. I'm going back to doing the thing that I'm the most comfortable with, the most familiar with. And it's not the best thing. It may not even be a right thing, but it's a thing that I know and understand and I'm comfortable with. So I'm going to put that hat on and hang this one up. Look at Paul. Paul had a phenomenal oratorical ability. This dude could preach the paint off the walls. This dude was insanely intelligent. They said maybe even to the possibility of possessing a few PhDs. And so he was so zealous for what he believed in that he did above and beyond all his contemporaries, and as much as persecuting the church greatly. And then when Jesus hit him on the road to Damascus and he realized what these powers that he possessed were for, he became a powerhouse, an evangelical powerhouse, and did more than almost anybody else. And so you could see how you possess this stuff, and it ultimately, you know, can put you in the best spot or the worst spot depending on how you use them. So we need to remember, you don't be afraid to sacrifice talent for passion. You know, talent burns out, passion will burn bright. Because I think ultimately what we do is we spend a lot of our skill set and these gifts and the talents and abilities on our talents. And talent doesn't last. You know, talent is not the thing that will take you to the finish line. Your passion is. And so just because you're talented at something doesn't ultimately mean it's a good thing or the thing to invest in. And so that's the majesty of God, is he gives us all this grace and all this ability and all these things to use however we want. But we got to understand, remember this fact, is we're going to give an account of it in the end. Yes, you and I. And also individuals like Elon Musk, who have billions and hundreds of billions of dollars and have created all these things and implemented all this stuff. Who do you think gave him that talent, that ability? The passion that he possesses to work 15, 16 hours every day? It wasn't him. It wasn't his mama. It wasn't his daddy. It was God. Trump, Kamala Harris, both sides of the fence, all the way down through, all these big Jeff Bezos and all these people. Who do you think gave these people the passions and abilities they possess? It was not their DNA, and it wasn't their mom and dad, and it wasn't the college. It was God. And they have to give an account to how they're going to use these things. There's a parable that outlines this phenomenally. And so, you know, a lot of people today have lazy thinking. You know, we all have a mind, a will, and emotion, which is the embodiment of the soul. We have to use it. We can do bad all by ourselves. We're great at evil. And I don't even want to get into the evil debate and where that came from and all eccentric, all that kind of stuff. You can figure it out pretty simply without even being a Christian. We're evil by nature. We are evil people who have the ability to do good. That's the state of which we're in. So where the struggle point comes, where a lot of the problems are coming into down, is the breakdown of the family unit. That's where, as men, we should be using our talents and our abilities and our skill set. It's to ultimately hone and shape our home. That should start your ministry. That should start your passion. That should start everything you're about to step into. That has to be right before anything else is good. It's like loving yourself, you know? I did a video about that. If you don't love yourself, whatever I'm dealing with, if you come into my circle, it's going to come on to you. If I'm beating myself up, I'm beating you up. If I hate me, I'm going to hate you. But if I love me, I'll love you. And if I love me, I'm going to love everybody around me. And so that's where it starts, is in the family. The family unit is God's mastermind design to where all the power and all the potential and all the abilities really lie, is within the family structure. And so with that being the created order, you know, the created order goes, you know, God, Jesus, man, woman, child, angel. When God first designed this thing, it was God, Jesus, angel, or God, Jesus, man, woman, child, angel. But then when Adam decided to do what he did and disobey God, he switched roles with the devil. And now the devil is above us, which is why they possess the power that we're supposed to originally have. But that's another sermon, that's another video, it's another hour. But it goes man, woman, child. If you take the man out, there's a vacuum that gets created, that something will fill that void. And more than likely, it's not something that's going to be nice. It's not something that's going to be pretty. And so now the woman is left becoming an independent alpha female, having to depend on her ability to possess the power to manipulate both sides now, husband and wife, mom and dad. And so she has to figure this out on her own, which is why we're having so many problems. See, the attack is on the family. That's the attack, on the children and the family structure. They are emasculating men. Men are becoming females, dressing like females, talking like females. It's toxic to just be a man today. You're not allowed to be a manly man, because then you're a toxic man. Also, women are being snuffed out as men are being turned into females. Not only are females kind of being pushed into being an independent alpha person to where you could kind of become a guy, but now the woman of the year is a man. There's men who are doing tampon and makeup commercials. Men are women competing and winning at women's sports. You see what's happening here? Take a look and see the breakdown of the family unit. That's what he wants. That's what Satan wants. All the power is found here. That's the biggest attack, is on the family. So the National Fatherhood Initiative says on their website that 17.8 million children, that's 1 in 4 children currently in the United States, are without any father figure at all. So a little background on that: 4 times more likely to enter into great poverty, the highest likelihood imaginable for phenomenal behavioral issues, prison, crime, being pregnant as a teen, suffering great abuse and neglect, obesity, drugs and alcohol problems, and dropping out of school. Look at this, read the news, watch the news. This list is a very active list every day. These shooters who are shooting up schools have a dad that is not there, or who maybe had been there that set a horrible example, or these kids are just going nuts because there's no one to lead, guide, and direct them of any sort of kind. This list is a very rampant list that you could just check off every time you watch the news. These are the ones that are doing it. And so, you know, that's the attack. The attack is on the father. The attack is on the family structure. That's where the most prevalent attack is, and it's so quiet and it's so subtle that no one's looking at that as being the center point of the attack. They're looking at all the stuff on the outer circle when it's the bullseye that we need to be looking at. That's the thing that he's doing, is not let the right hand know what the left hand's doing. And he's winning phenomenally well. And so also we put all the emphasis on the children. And so, yes, they're important to nurture and to grow and to lead and to guide, but the husband and the wife are the most important structures. You need to be, your wife, fellas, should be your number one, not your children. Your wife is number one. And the reason I say this is because what happens is people fall in love with their children, they replace their spouse. When the children leave, it's like your spouse leaving, now you're left with this person over here, this guy over here. I don't know who she even is anymore. You're strangers. You have grown apart. You have matured apart. You have different tastes and thought processes and likes and dislikes, and you don't know who each other are at all. And you don't even try at this point. You quit most of the time, which also contributes to the high divorce rate. Fellas, your wife should be your number one. Women, your husband is your number one. Your children are also a grand priority, which you love very much, but you two are going to do this life together all the way through to the end. They're going to grow up and run off and make families of their own. What are you going to do with you two when they're off on their own? So it's an amazing thing how God has this thing set up and structured. And think about what you've lived through that did not kill you hundreds of times. The one time one person experiences this, they die. And think about the fact that how many times you've been recycled over and over and over. You can't kill you, let alone something else. So your story is not over yet. If this is you and you've tripped up and fallen and you found yourself in a real bad predicament, like I've found myself 100 times because I had been molested multiple times as a child, grew up through insane situations. I get thrusted and thrown right into the drug world. Firsthand introduced to me. I didn't have to go after it. It all came right to me. And it landed me in jail several times, gave me a phenomenal drug problem. That was the best thing to soothe my pain. It helped. Heroin was the best thing I ever found to help my pain. And I ended on all the other drugs and everything else comes with it, and the alcohol. And I ended up going to prison for a number of years. And it robbed me of so much, but it created who I am today. So your story is not over. Don't listen to the hype. Don't beat yourself up. God can do, so the best thing about the majesty of God is he can do so much with so little. We just got to give it to him. You got to give it to him. That's where the problem is we run from him and we don't give it to him. He has done transformational things in our marriage and our lives since this thing took our house a couple months ago. We're still without a home, like I said at the beginning. It's so difficult, so frustrating. But there's a reason why when Noah built the ark, the only window was up high, because Noah couldn't look at the winds and the waves and all the water in the storm. He could only look up. Fellas, when things are raging, when life's storms are raging all around you, look up. Don't look at the wind and the waves, look up. Because if you notice what happened in the gospel is when the boys looked at the wind and the waves, when Peter said, bid me to come to you, Lord, if that's you. As soon as he looked at the wind and the waves, he began to sink. Keep your eyes focused on Jesus. Let him transform you, lead you and guide you and take you through this. And trouble will transform you. Pain will process things for you like you've never known before. Keep your eyes on the Lord. Keep the eyes on the prize. Use your gifts, talents, and abilities for your passion. Go for what you're passionate about and make that the course of your life. But it has to start with your family.